Tonight at sunset starts the holiest day of the Jewish year. It is called Yom Kippur, which translates as Day of Atonement, Day of Spiritual Cleansing and Forgiveness. Some modern rabbis have referred to it as Day of At-One-Mint, which is not literal, but I think is very meaningful as well. It is the answer to the question that I'm asked specifically frequently by Christian pastors: how do we achieve cleansing, atonement, A, without a temple, and secondly, without the same belief system that Christians have about salvation, particularly involving Jesus of Nazareth? The answer is that even without a temple, the rituals of Yom Kippur largely remain intact, as they have been for more than 3,000 years. And it is a day that is not perceived, not meant to be perceived as a sad day, but actually meant to be a joyful experiencing of cleansing oneself through taking personal responsibility, repairing one's relationship with their fellow human that they may have wronged by literally sitting down with them and apologizing in person, and correcting any wrongs and blemishes that we have created between ourselves and God, between ourselves and the universe, between ourselves and the community. And we do that through 25 hours of complete fasting. Obviously, if there are health concerns, one is commanded to eat, but a healthy Jewish adult refrains from all food or liquid, including water, from sunset this evening until stars come out tomorrow night. In addition, there are four other things that we refrain from beyond food and drink. We refrain from bathing for pleasure, as compared to for medical or health reasons. We refrain from any kind of sexual intimacy. We refrain from anointing ourselves with perfumes and good smelling oils. And we refrain from wearing leather shoes. And these 5 acts of refraining are meant to push down on the body in order to kind of elevate the soul, in order for us to feel like for this one day of the year, we are not living on food and drink and pleasure. We are literally living from our soul, and to achieve what we consider to be an angelic type of reality. What would it be like to only focus on serving God and the universe and ourselves, rather than feeding ourselves and being gluttonous and just taking care of our desires? The other main thing that we do on Yom Kippur, besides these 5 things that we don't do, is gather as a community in prayer. And this may be the one day of the year that millions of Jews find themselves in a synagogue, despite being cultural, secular, atheist, agnostic. It is still the ultimate gathering day of the Jewish people. Here in Modesto, as in many congregations throughout the world, after we start tomorrow morning service, we're here the whole day, literally engaged every moment of the day in prayer, in meditation, in study, in song, and discussion. And finally, and again, I could go at this for a long time, but I'd much rather hear questions than pontificate. The idea is that the day itself has great holiness to it, and the things that we do on this day add to that holiness. According to Jewish belief, the date of Yom Kippur, the 10th day of the 7th month of Tishrei, is the date that the Holy One of Blessings forgave my ancestors, the Jewish people, for the building of the golden calf. And so this is a day for literally almost 4,000 years, 3,500 years, a day that itself has forgiveness kind of built into it, but we need to show up. Someone, for example, who does something wrong, saying, "Oh, don't worry, I'll atone on Yom Kippur." Yom Kippur does not atone for that. Yom Kippur is about noticing how we've missed the mark. And what we do on this day is what makes the difference. So someone who does none of the above mentioned activities, is not part of community, is not praying, meditating, apologizing, seeking to better themselves, the day will obviously have no impact. It's literally about what people put into it. So starting this evening at 7 p.m., we'll have many people here in person. We'll be here for a couple hours tonight, and then all day tomorrow, working on making ourselves better people, ultimately trying to make the world a better place for everyone, through each of us taking personal responsibility for how we may have fallen short. So that's Yom Kippur in about 4.5 minutes. But as I said, I'd love a couple questions. Rabbis love questions. We get sad when no one asks one. So who's got a question? No one?
I'd love to know what the day looks like tomorrow.
Yeah,
What does it
that
look
was my question too. What happens after
What is this? What is
tomorrow?
the schedule tomorrow? Like,
schedule? If you go on our website or you email me, I'm happy to send you the flyer. 9 o'clock is a morning service, um, similar to any day of prayer, but some important additions for the high holidays. At 10 o'clock, we have a Torah service. We read from the Torah the ancient rituals of Yom Kippur involving the offering of two goats, one that is brought to the altar of the tabernacle, later the temple, the other that is sent as the scapegoat to the wilderness. So we reenact that ritual by chanting it in the Torah and then literally reciting it and prostrating on the ground 4 different times. So after our Torah service, there is a memorial service. It's one of 4 days of the year that we remember those who passed away and honor them. We then have an additional service where we reenact this service of the temple. And then for us here, we are going to then have a Talmud class. Some people study a page of Talmud every day. The Talmud is the rabbinic writings of the last couple thousand years. So there's a daily portion of Talmud to study to complete the whole thing in 7.5 years. We'll be doing that as a community. Then some yoga and stretches at the same time as a nature walk. Then an afternoon service, which is marked with the reading of Jonah, the entirety of the book of Jonah. Then we're going to have a musical service at the same time as an annual Q&A with the rabbi, Stump Rabbi Shalom. And then we have a concluding service, and I should mention that in any day, there are 3 times of Jewish prayer, evening, morning, and afternoon. On Shabbat and holidays, there's a 4th added late morning. And unique to Yom Kippur, there are 5 moments of prayer and meditation, each marked with confessions and acknowledgments of wrongs that we in the world have done. So we'll be praying tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow late morning, afternoon, and sunset. And not by coincidence, those are the times of Muslim prayer services. The concept of daily prayer in Islam was borrowed from the idea of the 5 prayers of Yom Kippur. So people are welcome to stop by, though this year we've asked for RSVPs. We'll be in our sanctuary. We'll be outdoors for those unvaccinated or not willing to show a proof of negative test. And we'll also be live streaming everything through YouTube and Zoom. So what it looks like is a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, a lot of study, a lot of connection, and a lot of acknowledging of how we've missed the mark. I think the most important part of your question, my answer rather, is it's not about asking for forgiveness. It's about feeling forgiven. It's about ultimately forgiving ourselves and acknowledging that as we make this effort, heaven joins us with this effort to accept our forgiveness and give us a new year, a new start. Yes, Lori.
So Shalom, my question is a personal one, because hearing this schedule, it sounds like your whole day, beginning this evening until tomorrow evening is really, really full. And so my question is, like, how do you make time, or do you make time, or in what way do you are you present for your own part in that? Like how do you hold that?
It's a great question, and it's great to be here with colleagues and be able to ask and answer this kind of question. Each of the 5 prayer services at their heart is a standing meditation that is recited in a whisper. So I'm not just here to lead services, I'm here to participate them. When others are engaged in self-reflection, I will have built into the service those moments to do so. And I have to say that while there's a certain amount of heaviness that Yom Kippur obviously contains, I rarely have a hard time fasting because I'm so busy, because it's such an intense day. At the end of the holiday, when we have this fast breaking, I need to be reminded to eat. I am thirsty. I want to drink some water, but I am flying so high from the experience of leading the community in prayer that it's not, it does not, while it feels like a marathon, it's one that I want to keep running at the end because it is so profound. And I should mention that the high holidays do not end with Yom Kippur. 4 days later, start a 9-day celebration of the harvest and our Torah reading cycle and Jewish identity. And that's all about feasting and drinking and dancing and clapping. And I've often seen Yom Kippur is the price of admission for these other holidays that follow. So that very much sustains me. But yes, if people are saying, hey, Rabbi Shalom hasn't responded to my email, these are 3 very busy weeks. Jeff has a question. Maybe we'll fit in Jeff's and one more.
You mentioned, about having 4 days for remembering those who've passed. I know that there's also the additional, like your father passed away in this particular year. Is there anything additional for those who have lost a parent or a spouse or somebody in this particular year, not just the people from the past?
So Jewish mourning involves a year of journeying through grief and particular daily prayer, including we have the custom of not cutting their hair for the whole year, not buying new clothing, and literally engaged in daily communal prayer multiple times a day for 11 of these 12 months. A Jewish mourning also includes the memorial service, which is recited communally on Yom Kippur, but also on the 3 pilgrim festivals, Passover, 7 weeks later, Shavuot, the Festival of Weeks, and the holiday that comes after Yom Kippur, Sukkot. Simchat Torah is also one of these Yizkor moments. And additionally, we remember our loved ones on the day of their passing every year. So there's a constant cycle of people remembering those who came before them and made them who they are. And while it is certainly intense to be in a 12 months of mourning while I'm engaged in these larger rituals of communal mourning, it does not change what needs to be done. It just changes what's in my heart. That these words of memory are very fresh. But if for 3 months I did not trim my beard and decided that I was going to trim my beard, but my hair is getting pretty long, and in 7 months I'm going to look a little bit more wild. But other than that, there's no significant change to how it all works. Anyone else got a last question? Yes, Tom.
In this forgiveness of stuff that falls short, is there also a forgiveness of collective stuff? I mean,
Yeah.
I got enough. Each one of us got enough, but there's more than just that, I think.
Great question and a great way to end this discussion. So Yom Kippur, we are told, fixes what we have done between ourselves and God, ourselves and the universe, if we take responsibility for it. It only fixes the way that we have let others down if we speak to them before or on Yom Kippur specifically. You can't just say, forgive me. You got to say, what am I asking for forgiveness for? What's so fascinating and beautiful and intense is when we recite, there are 2 group confessions that are recited 5 times, plus in each of the whispered meditations, so 10 times over the 25 hours of Yom Kippur, we recite these lists of ways that we have literally missed the mark. They're always done in the plural. Now, partially that is so no one feels like they have to shout out loud, I cheated on my taxes, and everyone looks at them, I did this or I did that. So by saying we did this, the ones that we personally have done are covered, but we're not needing to embarrass our fellow person or ourselves. But secondly, it's ultimately about taking responsibility as a world. Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, which was about a week ago, is the anniversary of the creation of humanity, which also means it's the anniversary of humanity being given its first instructions, which were be fruitful and multiply. We've done that one well. And also you can eat whatever you want except for that one tree. And before that first day had ended, what were they doing? Eating from the tree, which was less of a problem than what happened next. Eve said, the snake gave it to me. And Adam said, Eve gave it to me. They both went like this. So Yom Kippur is our antidote to that, of saying, I am taking responsibility not only for what I have personally done, but what my people has done and what our world has done. it is unlikely that any one person has done everything on the list of stealing and murdering and lying and literally this lengthy list. But the reality is, Tom, that we live in a world that all of this has happened. And even if I have not done those things, what can I do to contribute to a world of repair and peace and fulfillment and redemption is to take responsibility not only for what I've done, but for what I haven't done in ultimately healing and improving the world. I see a question, which is, would you be willing to share the list that gets rescinded? Yes, if someone emails me, and I'm happy to email to you, Laurie, it's available in translation, and it is an A to Z and Aleph to Taf list of things we literally beat our breasts as we recite them, and then a much longer list that includes opportunities to add the specific things that we've each done recited in a whisper. So that's a crash course on Yom Kippur. And we do welcome visitors and guests. So if you want to see what we're doing, RSVP and stop by.